right, let's hit it off. Let's go with it. Your Vikings on the road, San Francisco 49ers. 49ers have the week of rest. They look like they're going to be healthy. Minnesota coming off the big win. Mike, lead us off. Where do you think this one goes?
Well, for the second straight weekend, the Vikings are playing a team that is better than the Vikings.
Right.
But for the second straight weekend, that may not matter. What matters is what you do. What matters is what Mike Zimmer has managed to cook up defensively to stymie the San Francisco 49ers. What matters is whether and to what extent Dalvin Cook can run the ball the way he did. Some good news for the Vikings as it relates to the Adam Thielen ankle injury. Sounds like it's a cut, not a sprain. Had stitches, but heals a lot more quickly than sprained ligaments. So if he's good to go, if Stephon Diggs is good to go, then the Vikings, and look, this comes down to, I believe it's going to be a close game. And if it's a close game, anything can happen. I don't believe it's going to be a blowout, but we were wrong last week when we thought Saints-Vikings would be a blowout. I think it's going to be a close, hard-fought game, and I'm going to use a historical context for the purposes of making my wild guess as to what ultimately is going to happen. And I'm going to take you back to 1986, not 87.
Okay.
87 was when the Vikings beat the 49ers in the playoffs unexpectedly. 86, I was living and working in the Bay Area in Richmond at the Chevron refinery there, and the Vikings were coming to play. And at that time, I had never seen them play, but I was too cheap to buy a ticket to go because I figured they'd get killed. They won that game in overtime, 27-24 to my great delight. So we got to pick a score. I think it's going to be a close game. This 49ers lost their first game this year, 27-24 in overtime at home. I'm going all in. Vikings 27, 49ers 24, and I'm adding to it the prediction that the win will come in overtime. Take that, Simms.
Well, okay, first off, who did the Vikings beat in that 86 game after that 9-minute explanation? Who did they beat?
The 49ers.
In 86? The 86 season?
It wasn't a playoff game. It was the 86 regular season.
Okay, good. There
the
we go.
Vikings went to San Francisco.
Gotcha.
And they won 27-24. So you got to keep up. They won 27-24 in overtime. That's where that idea came from for the score, not the 87 playoff game, the 86 regular season.
I wasn't sure. I was just trying to clarify. I'm blonde and I played football. I'm not always that smart, okay? I just got to hang with me every now and then, all right? All right. Wow, you're picking the upset. I did not expect that because I never know where to go with you and your Minnesota Vikings. It's like you hate them more than the most people hate their own team more times than not. All right, so here's where I want to go with this. Like, first off, I just want to ask you this because do you think the Minnesota Vikings can win this game if Dalvin Cook doesn't have a big day?
No.
I don't either. And I just don't know what happens there. Now, of course, Minnesota's offense is predicated on Dalvin Cook's success. There's no doubt about that. And they ran the ball great on the edge of the Saints' defense last week. That's what teams have done against the Saints. They're big, they're slow. You get out on the edge. That's what they did. Different story this week. You're not going to run on the edge against the San Francisco 49ers. It's arguably the fastest front seven in football. So they're going to be great at that. To attack the 49ers in the run game, you got to attack them right up the middle. And I'm interested to see if they can pull that off. Bradbury, Elflein, they're very good blocking in the inside run game. The other thing I'll say is, as much as I do believe in that run game, right, and I think they need to be successful to win the football game, the one way I can maybe look at them and go, okay, I think maybe if the run game is just so-so or less than, I do think Thielen and Diggs have an advantage on the outside against these two corners of the San Francisco 49ers. And I think that's, you've heard me say it. If there's a weakness to that 49ers defense, I think it is outside there. They play that cover three or man-to-man. The corners are basically in man-to-man type situations all game long. And if you're willing to throw out routes and comeback routes and things outside the numbers, which a lot of teams are reluctant to do this day and age, I do think the Niners are susceptible there. And I would test them. I really would. I would sometimes just simplify the game and go, hey, I'm Kirk Cousins, you're Adam Thielen. I think we're better than Richard Sherman, and let's go from there. So that'll be interesting part of the game. And then the Vikings. We've talked about that, Mike, right? How impressed we were with Zimmer last week on defense. He threw some curveballs at Sean Payton. He took away some of the bread and butter things they did on offense. Do you think Mike Zimmer will have some tricks up his sleeve this week in this matchup? What's your thoughts there?
He will. Whether they work or not is a different thing.
Sure.
But I think he will. The way he discussed it after the win on Sunday, he stopped himself from saying, yeah, I plan to have more of the same against the 49ers. But I think Zimmer's attitude for this game and for last game was, we're going to go get it. That's their slogan for the playoffs,
right.
And the coach has taken it to heart. Look, it's right there, and he's not going to lose because he was careful. If he loses, it's going to be because he was aggressive and it didn't work. So we'll see if it works, but I think he will have some aggressive plans on both sides of the ball. And You may be right. Maybe it's just the threat of Dalvin Cook that's going to have Kirk Cousins coming out from the get-go, throwing the ball all over the place.
Right.
And maybe they don't need Dalvin Cook to have a big day, but I think they're going to be very aggressive on offense and on defense.
Yeah, I think they'll have to be because that's what the 49ers do. And, if you're going to match the 49ers, you better be aggressive. They keep the pressure on you. And I think, yes, Zimmer, and there's another interesting angle. I do think Zimmer has the advantage in the fact that Gary Kubiak and Kirk Cousins are on his staff, who have both worked with Kyle Shanahan. So they might be able to give Zimmer, especially Kirk Cousins, he might be able to tell Zimmer, hey, on this type of play, he's looking at this to check to that. Or he's calling this play, hoping you play this defense, and then he's going to try to do that against you. I think that's a little interesting angle to at least evaluate. I do think this 49ers offense poses more problems for the Vikings defense than the Saints did. For two reasons. One, the run game of the 49ers is special. All the pre-snap movement, guys going different ways, the Shanahan run scheme, let alone the reverses, the speed sweeps, and all the things. And then, unlike the Saints too, this is aggressive passing game. We know Drew Brees and company, they're kind of dink and dunk, which allowed Minnesota to play aggressive and be at the line of scrimmage and never really back their corners off. They better back off this week because Garoppolo and Shanahan will dial up some deep play action passes and try to gash you that way. Hey, listen, I'm excited for this game. I think it's close for a while, but I think ultimately I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going with the team that I thought has really been the best one or two teams in football all year, in my opinion. A week off, they're healthy. Shanahan has extra time to prepare. I'm going to go San Francisco 31-17 at home against the Minnesota Vikings, against your Minnesota Vikings, and they will lose, and I will be there to rub it in, just in case you were wondering.
Oh, I'm sure that you'll rub it in. I will have escaped by then. The moment that it gets out of hand is the moment I get into a car and head back to the hotel, get my things, head to the airport, and get the first plane going anywhere but San Francisco.
Okay, all right. You're like, what do they call that? An Irish goodbye, right? The guy that just kind of sneaks out of a party and doesn't say bye to anybody. That's going to be you, or at least I'm hoping it's you on Saturday.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.